Can you reinstate your company after it's been dissolved? My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm a small business and estate planning lawyer who works in Minnesota and New York. And today we're going to talk about what happens to your company after it's been dissolved if you want to reinstate it. There's two categories of dissolutions when you're dealing with companies. One is a voluntary dissolution, the second is an involuntary dissolution. A voluntary dissolution is when your company chooses to shut down. Maybe you and your partners have decided you're not going to go any further, or it's just your business and you've said you've had enough and you're going to go back to a different job, or maybe just start a new company. Involuntary dissolutions happen in two main cases. One, if you fail to pay taxes, your local state may just shut down your company administratively. And the second is if a shareholder or someone who owns the company, maybe a co-owner or a partner, decides that they want to dissolve the company, so they bring a lawsuit. So whether it's a voluntary or an involuntary dissolution, even if your company is dissolved in the end, so a voluntary one will go through the state and the state will decide that it's dissolved. An involuntary one will allow you to either pay your taxes or go through a full lawsuit and have a judge say whether or not the company has to be dissolved. But at the end of the road, no matter which path you've taken, there are ways you can reinstate your company. If your company's been involuntarily dissolved, there's going to be a much higher threshold here. So especially if it's been after a lawsuit and the company has been shut down by a judge, you may have less options. However, if you chose to shut down the company or it's been dissolved simply because you didn't pay taxes, there may be a road forward for you and your business. First thing you need to do is contact your state and find out why your company was dissolved. Especially if it's as simple as paying taxes, you have a direct path forward at that point. The second thing is if it was dissolved because filings weren't done or fees weren't paid, then you know you need to get your filings up to date and get your fees paid. So the third thing you'll need to do is file those documents and pay those fees. Now a warning here, if you haven't been paying taxes or you haven't been paying state fees, there's probably going to be late fees that have been accruing. If this is a 10 or 20 year business and you've just been operating it and haven't made your filings, those fees can really add up. Once you've filed your documents or you've paid your fees, find out what's next from the state. Often they'll give you a certificate or a letter saying that you've now complied with the requirements and you are ready to be an active company again. And then the fifth thing you'll need to do is file whatever they want you to file. At that point, your fees are paid, your documents have been filed, find out from the state what else has to be done. And after you've done that comes the most frustrating part. And that is simply, you've got to wait for the state to make you an active company again. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't transact business and you can't do other work for your business. It just means that the state is going to treat you as a business that has been dissolved. But once you've gone through these steps and you've got your documents filed, you should be back in good standing and be able to continue business and make your yearly filings. Many people ask me, why does it matter if my company is dissolved or not? If I haven't paid taxes, I'm still running my company. I should be okay, right? Well, first, they can obviously come after you for tax fraud. If you haven't been filing taxes and your business has been making money, the state's going to want their taxes. And secondly, if you find out that you need to file a lawsuit against somebody, if your company has been dissolved, you can't legally bring a lawsuit against somebody. Likely the defendant will bring up this issue as part of the lawsuit and say, wait a second, that company has been dissolved. They can't bring a lawsuit against me. Now, this may not be fatal to your lawsuit. In many states, you can actually reinstall your company, do your filings, pay your fees, and continue with the lawsuit. However, if your company is treated as inactive or dissolved, a court can dismiss your case and say you're not an active company and you haven't taken the steps necessary to get it back. There's two ways you can handle this. First is you could just keep operating, say, you know what, my company's dissolved, and you can hope for the best. But the reality is at some point, the state's going to catch up with you, the tax office is going to catch up with you, a lawsuit will catch up with you, someone will catch up with you. So the second way to get around this and get yourself back onto good standing is work with a professional. Work with your accountant to get those taxes filed, work with an attorney to get your documents back in order. A lot of times it's as simple as you set up the company and just never did anything else. Maybe you went to a website, they gave you some forms, and you just looked at them on the computer, you printed them out, and never did anything after that. So in this case, what you can do is work with an attorney to get your documents in order, get everything signed, get your filings up to date with the state, and you and your company can move forward. Just because it was dissolved doesn't mean you can't reinstate your company and keep operating.